kind of another thing DI does is it's this subtle. As somebody like who tries to help people learn and so it gives you like a gauge of their mentality overall because
Yes.
because it's a mark of a good player or at least somebody who's really trying to learn is if when they get hit by a DI they're thinking, okay, what did I do to get hit by that? But then if on the other side of the coin is people go, DI's stupid, this is such a dumb mechanic, that tells me, okay, this person has more than just getting better to overcome. They have this terrible mental state that they're in that's probably going to translate to other things too. They're going to instead go, this sequence that this character can do is dumb, or Manon's level 5 command grab is dumb, and instead of going like, okay, what did I do to end up getting hit by that?
Welcome to the Absolute Guard podcast.
Yes, welcome. This is episode 46. My name is Benny, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Jon, who I'm hoping is going to coach me when I'm streaming one of these days.
For Street Fighter 6?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not playing anything else right now, so.
Yeah. I was thinking you'd ask me to coach you in Tetris. I'd be like, You got to get the long piece, Benny. Just make a big well in the center and then drop the long piece down in the middle and then you're good. that's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
No, that'd be fun actually. Like if we did a stream where like I could just kind of watch and see, what you are trying and what you are losing to or what you're winning with, and then kind of putting some extra spotlight on that stuff. It'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because like since our last episode, like I don't know if I mentioned, like I think I did mention on our last episode that I was a Twitch affiliate now, but I haven't been streaming often. Like I just haven't had the want to, and it's work. So I mean, it kind of just goes back to like when people were always just like, when I was looking for a new job, it was like, go be a pro gamer, and I'm just like, I don't want to be a pro gamer. This is a hobby. Like I don't want this to be work. So that's exactly how I was looking at it. I was just like, I don't want to feel obligated to do this if I don't want to. Like I just want to log online and play games and not worry about people like reacting to me.
Yeah. I think part of the appeal of doing what you love is the assumption that you will always love doing it.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, in general, like I'm curious about your overall journey in learning this game, and frankly everybody's overall journey in learning this game. We've got a lot of news and whatnot to talk through today in Street Fighter 6's first month. And to help with that discussion, we brought on AZ Thrasher. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how's it going? Back again.
Yep.
Back again.
How many people at this point have come on 3 times? Because I feel special now.
I don't know. We'd have to tally that. I think Scott might be the top.
Yeah, for sure. Scott's the top.
Yeah, Scott's the top. So you might be at like A tier right now.
Nice. I'll take it.
Yeah. We've had Tanner on a couple times too. I think we had him on the real show, like the formal show, twice, and then we've done a couple of absolute extras with him too.
Yeah,
so I would put you guys as part of the absolute auxiliary guard.
Yeah, Tanner is a great speaker, so he can really get the point across a little bit better than I can. So
yeah. So in terms of Street Fighter 6, like so. Other than like my journey, which Jon mentioned, like I wanted to talk about a couple things. One was the first major for Street Fighter 6 just ended, which was CEO, and then we've got Evo coming up, basically in a little over 5 weeks. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and the news that's been coming out about that. So I guess we'll start with the CEO results. So I personally didn't watch like the whole tournament. I was just like, I kind of, I found out top eight was happening, and I was like, oh, let me watch this. And I think I just missed out the first Mena RD match, and I started with Kaba versus Punk, and that was a hell of a way to start. If you guys saw that match,
Yeah, that's the match that everybody was talking about in all of my group chats. I think that it was Cammy versus Guile, if I recall correctly, and there were a lot of like really close, like I don't really know what to call them besides choke moments. I'm not trying to say that in a unflattering way, but like, it's a brand new game, first major and everything, and so there were just a lot of moments where it was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think they know what's going to happen either. And I think the match actually concluded with an attempt to chip Punk out with a flash kick, and it wasn't enough, and then Punk just punished Kaba for it and won the match. That was like the big nail biter moment, I think, that everybody remembers from that set.
Yeah, there was that one, and then I think that's not how like the match actually ended. I think that was one of the big turning points, or like towards the end, right? Like that was one of the reasons he lost one of the games.
Yeah, something like that. Yep. I caught pretty much all the top 8. I did find it interesting seeing the character distribution for top 8, and I imagine that's gonna translate into tier list conversations for pretty much every content creator and influencer out there. But I believe it was 4 juries, Punk's Cammy, Nephew had a side Chun-Li, Mena had a Luke and a Blanca, which I'm sure we're gonna talk about later. And I'm trying to pull this all from memory right now, actually. And then Kava playing Guile as well. I think that there was a jury player as well. I think it was Gloaty Gloat or something, and then a Manon player. Goat Gloat.
Yeah, Manon was between Idom and Sticky Fingers, and then Idom was also playing. Yeah, Idom also played jury against him.
Yeah. So decent character variety minus jury. I'm hesitant to call it like a reflection of what the tier list is for month 1 of Street Fighter 6. I think a lot of it had to do with like, people playing the matchup, or rather playing the player and assuming that the player did or didn't know the matchup, and then playing that instead. Because not everyone can be ready for Blanca after 1 month. Not everyone can practice against a high level Blanca in 1 month. And I think that's where Mena, he had the really strong Luke, but he also had the Blanca to kind of throw a wrench in it, and kind of a knowledge check to death, so to speak.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Blanca is that character. He's gonna show you exactly what you don't know about the game, about him, about drive impact, and what you can and can't punish with drive impact. Yeah, Blanca, there's just a lot of people just going, oh, okay. Yeah, every 5 seconds that you watch a Blanca play. So luckily, we've got a few of them in our scene. So I feel like we might have a little bit of a leg up if we run into some Blancas at EVO,
Yeah.
I think at last count you said what, 7, John? 7 Blanca players in our scene?
We have 7, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, there are actually 7 different people in Arizona that I have played Blanca, and I'm pretty sure all of them are around diamond level. Maybe a platinum Blanca here and there, but like they're all pretty high level too, which is nutty to me. I don't know why we became the state of Blanca, because that character isn't necessarily the most popular.
Yeah, see that I kind of wondered about that too, because like when I think of the Blanca players here, like the ones that come to mind were like Scumbag and Rick.
Right? Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, from Street Fighter 4. Like Street Fighter 5, like I think there was one Ethan that I can think of.
Ethan and Chiron, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sure. I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't play a lot of Street Fighter Five towards the end, but
Mm.
okay. But see, then again, that's all I could think of. And then like I'm not really in tune with like a lot of the newer guys. So like when I was looking through like see who people were playing, and I saw Blanca, and I was just like 5, 6, 7, and I was just like, oh my god, why are there
You'd
so
be
many of you?
you'd be surprised because a lot of them are actually like older generation players from the Street Fighter 4 era or before that
Mhm.
have come back, and they just happen to be playing Blanca this time around. I think of Sean Forward Benner, who has been on our show, Tony, who played Street Fighter 4 in our scene and then kind of left after, I want to say, Arcade Edition. So he's coming
Okay.
back and playing Blanca too. Chiron's back; he's playing Blanca. Nadri, who's a regular on the regular in our Discord and a regular in the local scene now.
And you can't forget the one no one expected.
Yes,
The world's best ST Blanca.
yes, Chris Powell. Yeah,
Yeah,
promo.
Chris is messing people up with Blanca. He's got some cool
Oh,
stuff.
Yeah,
nice. That's awesome. Well, because I mean, from playing ST, like he's considered low tier character in ST, so that must be that must be kind of fun.
there.
Yeah.
I was speaking with the Blanca player after Mena won CEO with Blanca, and they mentioned to me, they were like, no, I want to be known for playing a low tier character. I don't want to be a what did he say? He said I want to be respected for playing a low tier character. That doesn't work
Yeah.
if the character's winning a bunch of majors.
Yeah, I think the Ultra David or somebody said that was like the first major that Blanca's won in like 7 years, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Nishikin, I think won a like qualifier tournament in Japan for Street Fighter 5, and that's all that character really like amounted to in that series. Like there are well-known Blanca players that are coming out of 5 and going into 6. Like I think of Wolfgang as probably the most prolific Blanca in current era. But again, like the character is just not very common, and he was pretty bad in 5.
Yeah.
like probably one of the worst characters, and then in 4 probably one of the worst characters.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Aside from like Fromo, which has been a Blanca character loyalist, and then like you said, like Chiron or people that have played him in like 4 or 5, like I guess I don't know. Maybe we have to get one of them on the show to talk about like their reasons for playing Blanca. Like what were they looking at? Like were they looking at Blanca-chan and Oki setups and stuff like that, or what changed? Because like his overall look and his playstyles, I think, pretty similar to how he was in 5.
I will say the look is I have heard from Blanca players that they don't like the look because he looks like an idiot. He's like a goofball character, and then they really like amped that up to 10, like in his burnout animation where he's basically a knuckle dragging gorilla. Like I like Blanca's this like unique duality of a character where he in the Alpha series and even in the 4 series, like he was kind of a goofball character, but in ST, if you look at a lot of the official art, he does look like a badass monster.
Yeah,
and so I think I think a lot of people wanted to play him because he's badass, and they've basically only made him more goofy over subsequent iterations of him.
Yeah, his burnout animation is like, I'm almost wondering if they pulled it from like the meme, or like there's TikToks of like this gorilla that's got the walking farts, and he literally walks exactly like Blanca's burnout animation.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I'm just like, did they do it because of that? Like I didn't think it was that popular, but it's pretty spot on to kind of to not be at least thought of.
we live in a world where memes are used in political battles now, so I wouldn't be surprised if they influence game development too.
Yeah, I mean, social media is everywhere. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm surprised, like, I'm not exactly sure which video you're talking about, but I'm surprised I haven't seen like a side by side, because like you see that all the time, right? When people are like, "Oh, did they pay homage to this, or did they draw inspiration from this?" And it's like Naruto and then somebody else's video or something in real time, and I'm like, "What?" I was like, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. I'll send it to you after, and
Okay.
it's pretty spot on.
Speaking of Naruto, actually, there is one character in this game that makes me think of Naruto, and that's Juri because of her drive rush and the run. And I did want to swing back around to that and talk about Juri's presence as CEO, because I believe 4 out of the top 8 were Juri, which, you know, we've seen this before in other games. Like, I remember in Street Fighter V Season 1, Nash was everywhere. In Street Fighter 4 Season 1, Vanilla Sagat was everywhere. So, like, it's gonna happen. And it might not even be like a statement on balance. It might just be the community chasing trends. So... But what's fortunate about our show today is that we have Thrasher on, who is a Juri's side main. Like, where are you at right now with her, man?
I feel like I play all 3 of the characters to like a similar level right now, so I don't really. I guess, yeah. I honestly I wouldn't know who to say, but I've definitely been putting a lot of time into Juri. I've got her at like Diamond 4 right now.
Yes.
And I think her presence at CEO is because she's this weird character who's got like these like peaks and valleys where she's really good if you just play her at a very basic level. Like, you can literally poke with low forward and cancel into her install and get the knockdown, and from there go into drive rush into a high-low mix-up. And you can just loop that over and over.
Yeah.
And it's you can get pretty far just doing that. And, you know, building up level 3 and then cancel into that when you get the chance, and pretty much the round's over. But then I've been exploring her feng shui level 2, and there's a lot of depth to that. So she's got like this like one side of her that is super easy to play and get really far with. But then I think there's a technical side that is much more difficult, but even stronger. I think in the long run, we'll see feng shui stuff end up being a lot more potent. Safe jumps that we've seen that come out of it that you can just loop. Corner carry into mix-ups is something I've been working on. I haven't really busted it out yet, but yeah, it seems really strong. So I think the ease of access for her was something that people gravitated to, because it's like you can learn Chun-Li, you know, that has all these different combo routes and things you got to do, or you could do low forward. So I think that's why we saw so many of them in top 8, is because you have good players playing a very simple character that is very good, and while everybody else is trying to land that combo they've been practicing in training mode on the big stage. So, I think that was part of it.
Yeah, so to put it in perspective, you were playing Kimberly at first, like during the betas and stuff like that, and then at launch you were playing Manon, or Mano, I guess that's how you pronounce her name, and then you were. What made you pick up Juri? Was it just stuff that you were seeing, or just kind of interested in the character, like based on like the trials or something that you saw?
I dabbled with her a little bit in like the second beta, or the open beta, I guess is the one. There was a second beta for me because I didn't get into the first one, but I dabbled with her there, and I was like, oh, she's pretty simple but really good. So I kind of stuck with her and Kimberly as like my 2 choices to go with. But then Kimberly got nerfed, so I kind of gravitated more towards and obviously when the game came out, I wanted to try new characters. So Manon was really cool. Level 5 and killing someone with 3 command grabs is pretty amazing. But then I got kind of sick of dealing with people just holding up. I mean, I get it. Trust me, I understand why you're holding up, but it's just boring to kill people that way, like instead of getting off the cool command grab. So I would say more Juri and Kim are my 2 characters that I'm going to be messing with, and Manon's kind of on the back burner. But Juri, just the footsies, The fireball is very similar to like Lucia's arcing fireball. It just takes up that same space. It doesn't catch
Yeah.
the jumps the same way the other one did, but it still kind of covers that option I was looking for. So that's really why I went with Jury. Is like she seemed good, easy mix up, good fireball. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like you said, I mean, that's a good point too, in terms of like the good players playing, a good character, right? Or it's a basic character, as you said. Like you can get far playing basic, and it's like that's one thing that I've tried to. I've been teaching my son this game because he's been wanting to learn, and that's something that I've kind of had to boil down to him too, right? Because like he's used to playing like Dragon Ball and doing like TOD combos and stuff like that, and I'm like those combos are cool, but I was like, when you're playing people on ranked, like you have to get that opportunity first. So like you have to develop like your basic stuff, like your anti-airs or your real simple like bread and butter combos, just to get those down before you're gonna even get an opportunity to to unleash the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something I'm seeing a lot in ranks too, is people having that same mindset where they've perfected these combos, but they have no way to land them. And then they get frustrated and they start flailing. But when they do hit you, they land that combo and it really hurts a lot. But then if you just slow the game down, they fall apart. So that's kind of the what has glided me through ranked is just slow down, let them kill themselves. And then once you get to the good players, then you can start implementing the game plan on your side of the offense,
Yeah, exactly. There's a sequence with a Chun-Li player I was going to show John, because it was a very not optimal combo. Like they could have killed me with level 3, and here I was like, I'm dead, and I just see like drive rush until like I think it was level 1, and I'm like, wait, how come you didn't kill me? Like there was no reason not to. Like, it was even rounds, and that was the game winner right there. But they went for this like combo, so I was like, I don't know if they were just like autopiloting or didn't realize the situation or what. And I ended up like coming back and beating them, and I was just like, why did you do that?
Yeah, I mean that's the story of my life with Chun-Li in general, and with everybody. It's like, I practice this one combo and I don't have any variations on it. I don't know, like I haven't done the combo enough to know all the inflection points to pivot to a different meter use or anything yet. And so I'm gonna do this fucking combo if it's the last thing I do. And frankly, like that's okay for month 1, because like I was watching footage of Sako playing Chun-Li, and he was doing exactly that. He was burning himself out to do one big ass combo because it's Sako and he wants to do the big ass combo, and no one's gonna say, Sako, don't do the big combo.
Yeah.
Sako's being unoptimal right now. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think in this game, optimal is relative to situation.
Exactly. That's exactly what I say. Relative to the game situation, for sure. Because I mean, and there's so much to account for, and it's besides all the mental stack stuff that we a lot of people have been talking about. It's just like add that into your game situation too, right? Like how much drive meter do I have? How much is this gonna cost? Like, is this gonna kill? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, John and I were having a conversation about JP yesterday, and we were just like, he had this cool new tech that he had seen and all these ideas, and I'm like, cool, I'm still gonna drive impact and just treat it like a DP. And like I think both of them have their place, and but it's just kind of like depending on the situation, is it gonna be more optimal because John is gonna do his tech and kill them with a certain combo that ends in a level 3, or in my case, if it's earlier in the round, I'm going to drive impact it, take 4 bars of their drive meter for parrying, and then see how the rest of the round goes. So both of them have their spot, So
I think, what's interesting about this game is that everything has a weakness or everything has a counter, and we've harped on that before about how not necessarily fair, but like how balanced the game feels, where you feel like you always have an answer. But because everything has a counter, that means that everything is viable at the same time, because now it's like if I have a counter, if this thing has a counter, then I need to find a counter to that counter, and that might be a hyper specific situation, but it's there still because everything has a weakness.
Yeah.
It's a really well designed game.
It's kind of unexpected, honestly.
It really is. Yeah.
Like, I don't think we knew the gem we were getting after going through the drought in the desert of Street Fighter V. Like I loved Street Fighter V. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to shit on the game, but it was very particular. And if you didn't have a certain set of skills, you weren't going to see the same success in Street Fighter V. I think it was very reaction heavy and confirm heavy, which is also part of reaction. So like if you're getting up there in age and your reactions are starting to wane, even though you might have all the wisdom and fighting game knowledge and fundamentals in the world, you might not be able to compete in Street Fighter V. And I don't think that's the case in Street Fighter 6, except for with DI. Because if you're old and you got no reactions, then you're eating DIs.
Yeah, I think that I think whiff punishing is also an extremely important part of this game. And whiff punishing, I think, like you could play it one way and be like, okay, you just react to whatever they do and then you whiff punish it, like you play it the young man style. Or you can play it old man style and you can, create a trap for them to fall into to hit a button, and then you just commit to springing that trap, a space trap, right? And that's another way to whiff punish that doesn't rely on reactions. So in the same way that like this game has different answers for every question, it's like you have different ways of approaching it, different risk reward ratios depending on how much meter you want to spend. The fact that everything has a cost is enormous for your decision making, which frankly it crosses my wires a lot of times when I play.
I think it's hard not to, man. It's just like I was gonna go back to, because you guys mentioned JP, and for me playing Sim, like that's been a matchup that initially like I was kind of worried about, and not to say that I'm not worried about it now, but my most fulfilling matches so far have been playing against some JP players in ranked, because I feel like I don't know if they don't see a lot of Sim, but they play initially very, very zone heavy, right? And they're throwing out all these things at me in the distance. And then I started to figure out, what I could jump out of and what I couldn't, and like when the grab was coming, because that's the one audio cue that I think I need now. Is because he says like away, like when the grab comes out. So that's something that I'm reacting to via sound. It's like I'm playing and I hear that away, and I'm like, oh, let me get the hell out of here before I get grabbed.
Yeah, it's like there's like a little chime that plays too in the background.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that in this game, the audio cues are bigger than in any game outside of maybe Season 2 Balrog doing the tap. But yeah, like for me with Blanca, it's like he's got a very distinct growl when he does the heavy ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch on that.
And I try and parry when I hear that. Otherwise, I just stand in a range where they're only going to use the other ones for like the mix-up, trying to get in. And then I'll just check that with the button. And if they hop, I check that. And I'm also trying to watch for anti-air. And that's kind of been my game plan against most Blancas. But if I can't hear that audio cue, I'm dead in the water. So here's hoping Evo has good headphones.
Same thing with Ken for me. Ken, he's got that Dragon Lash kick, right? But only the heavy ones plus, and so he yells, "How's this?" And then if you switch it to Japanese, he yells "Doda," and then you have to translate that in your head while the match is going. And same thing with the Jinrai kicks. He yells Jinrai sometimes. He yells "Hoi" and he says "Hoo" and stuff like that. And you have to, if he says "Hoi Hoo," then that's unsafe. But if he says "Hoi Ha," then it's not that one's safe, and you'll get DI'd. Like there's a bunch of bullshit there.
Yeah, I haven't picked up on that Ken one yet. Yeah, that's a rough one.
The other side of it is like the game's voice acting is actually really solid, and so I left for the first time in any Street Fighter. I've left the voices on English and have not switched to Japanese, and frankly, I don't intend to. And so I'm kind of curious about what language each of the majors is going to play it in. I believe CEO is in English, and I believe Evo is traditionally, they always switch it to Japanese voices, and I think that's like as a show of good faith for the Japanese contestants that have flown all the way out there, or competitors rather, not contestants. It's not a game show. But there probably will be a game show this year because like the Will It Kill thing's been taken off too. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of Evo, that's one of the other things I wanted to talk about because it was just recently tweeted out by I don't know if it was, I think it was the Evo account that they broke the franchise record for entrance with Street Fighter 6 so far, and I think registration is still open for another couple weeks or so. And so just to what was it? I was gonna look up I had the numbers. Yeah, so Street Fighter 5 back in 2016 had 5,107 entrants. So you're looking at over 5K, potentially 6K people playing Street Fighter 6 at Evo, which is a lot of damn people. Like, I mean, I saw a tweet from Vizcat. I was laughing because he's like, "Yeah, put me in 4 a.m. pools because I'm awake at that time."
Man, yeah, that's gonna be crazy. The only other time I've gone to Evo was 2016, and that was massive. Yeah. So it took. I think I didn't make it out of pools, and I still won like 4 or 5 matches.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was part of that 5,000 man tournament too, and there were a lot of DQs.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like my reaction to the news was pretty middling. Where I was like, they just broke it now, so because like 5,000 is a lot for the record. Because what happened with 5 is it started with 5,000, and then like in 2017, after everyone figured out that they didn't like the game, it ended up being like I think under 2,000, like 1,800 or something. And so that was an enormous drop off, and people cite that as a good reason for why Street Fighter 5 was not a good game. It had that big of a drop off. So I expected, frankly, I expected 6 to blow 5 out of the water, and now I'm like, it's only just now surpassing it. I don't know if we're gonna break 6. I don't know how much closer to, like, it might actually just be around the same amount of people as 5. Yeah. Which, you know, you can factor in, like, the world was completely different in 2016. People were more likely to leave their homes and travel and go out to a major, and they're fighting post-pandemic numbers right now, and 5,000 is pretty enormous already. But I had dreams of 8K, 10K. I don't think any of that stuff's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty high number to hit. I think 6K would be kind of realistic at the top end right now.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out like how often people sign up, because right now, like, frankly, I don't know. Have you guys signed up for Evo yet? Have you guys registered?
Well, I'm not able to go. I kind of just made that decision already, so I can't go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I registered. I registered like when it was still early bird or whatever.
Same here. Yeah. So that was my thinking, is that like the people that are going to register now are either the people in the community, the fighting game community, that are really late, or people that picked up the game in June and just learned that there was a fighting game tournament in Vegas in August, right? And I don't think that number is going to equate to another 1,000 people. It's just too late in the game.
Yeah, I'd be surprised, because Reg right now, like when I was looking at, was like $110. So it's up there. So I mean, if you're making the decision to go, like, you're either like all into like a Vegas vacation, or you're all in as a competitor. So one or the other, and you're like, hey, I want to go to Vegas anyway, so might as well, I'll go enter and go over to Evo at the same time.
Yep. Yeah. My Vegas trip's going to be something similar. And frankly, I just found out about this a couple of days ago, but like, in addition to all the competitive stuff, like my fiance comes with me every year, and then a group of friends comes every year with me, and we've done stuff like we went to Meow Wolf, we went to an escape room one year. 1 year we just stayed in the hotel and played Jackbox games instead. Fun time in Vegas with friends. And this year is the last. Well, I'm getting married in 2 months after Evo, and so we're actually flying out one of our good friends, and we're gonna have like a double bachelor party, because both me and my buddy one of my buddies getting married in September, and I'm getting married in October. So we're just gonna have a combined bachelor party as well. I'm hoping I'm talking with the group and being like, we should have it on Sunday night after everything's over, because I don't want that to interrupt my training during the weekend. But this is going to be a lot of juggling.
More to the mental stack, right? Just in real life.
Yeah.
That's cool though. There was one question I wanted to ask both of you, since I knew you guys were going to Evo. So the game's been out for about a month, right? So based on what you've experienced playing like through ranked or offline, like with friends, and then also like what you've seen from CEO, what are your priorities while preparing and training?
Oh, that's a good one. Mike, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
So watching this past weekend, there were some heartbreakers. One of them was Justin Wong, where he had a combo into level 3 to kill, and he did not do it. So my priority is going to be, one, figuring out first and foremost which matchups I want to play which character in. And from that, getting the exact game plans and make as little room for error as possible with combos and setups and things like that. Just try and sorry, dogs are going ham. Try and minimize. He's got better advice for me. He's trying to tell me, but basically, try and minimize the errors I can make, because I would rather lose to somebody who beat me than lose to me screwing up a combo or something like that. That's worst case scenario in my mind, is like getting the chance to play Punk or a top player and having the game winning combo or the set winning combo and dropping it and then losing.
Yeah, that's something like I've always tried to do when I'm going to enter tournaments, is control what I can control, right? It's just one of those things. It's just like, if I'm going to lose, let it be because I made a poor decision and not because, I couldn't execute when the time came.
Yeah.
Nice.
My counterpoint to that is that because it's month 2 at that point, like the drop is inevitable in my mind. The combo drop is inevitable, and I actually feel like it's more about practicing recovery situations, where like, what do I do after I drop the combo? How do I alter my combo where if I drop it, it's safe and I don't die for it? And there's ways you can do that. That's actually like why I think DRC is a good example where, you could do a more optimal complicated combo using EX moves and drive rush, like parry rush and stuff like that in the middle to juggle them and stuff like that. But if you drop any of that stuff, you might whiff an uppercut and die. But if you do drive rush cancels, those are always safe on block usually, unless you're committing to a dragon punch after it or something. But so like most of my, they call them tournament combos, I guess. Most of my combos are suboptimal, but they are easier to do consistently. And nowadays I am like adding in some more complicated combos now that I've seen the Japanese come up with a bunch of cool combos that I want to do.
Yeah.
But there are like tournament combos that I'm personally grinding out right now, just to make sure that, if I'm in the middle of a route and I need to bail out for something less risky because it'll still kill, then I'll do that. But there's also like, hey, I want to put the cherry on top and style a little bit if I'm on stream or something. So you got to have both. The other thing I want to think about is matchups. Like what Mike said there. There are several matchups that I think are going to be common that are not within our training group here in Arizona. I think that up until a couple days ago, I would have put Marissa in that category because there's only a couple Marissa players here. Luckily, Maynard's been leveling up quite a bit, and he's kicked the shit out of me recently. So good job, Maynard.
That's good. He speaking of Maynard, he talked about that was a character recommendation for you, because I was asking him if he was still playing Mano, and he's like, "No, I took John's suggestion, and he told me to play Marisa." So I was like, "So I guess it's helping out you at the same time, right?"
Yeah, I might have been a little bit selfish in that regard. I mean, the other side of it is I'm 1 for 2 on it, because the other character I recommended to Jeff was Lily, and that character's not very good. But yeah, I think another character that's really unknown to me, at least right now, is Jury. Because I think, Mike, you're the only person that I know in our state that's currently playing her, and you're not even dedicated to her 100% of the time. So, suddenly, if that's like public enemy number one character after CEO, like, we're going to see a lot of her and going to have to deal with her, I think. JP is another, like, Geef and Sim and JP and Honda. Those are like specialty matchups.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of, like, if you played Street Fighter 5, it's the equivalent of preparing for Fong, where no one plays that fucking character, Fong. and I had to fight Fong at Evo, and it was one of your buddies from Alaska, and he fucked me up. So I want to avoid those situations where it's not that I dropped a combo. It's not even if I got outplayed, because I can't tell if I got outplayed or not because I don't know the fucking match.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, that's inevitable because it's still month one. You can't know everything. We could also just get blown up by Kens if we go to Evo, 'cause, that's the matchup that I think all of us know the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Fong and Evo, like, there was I don't know if the guy was like warming up or whatnot, but there was I think it was at 2017. That was like the second one for Street Fighter 5. And I was already out of pools at that point, I think. And then this guy was like, "Hey, you want to play some matches? Like, free table or whatever." And yeah, he watched me for like 20 games straight. And he's just like, "Hey man, good games." And he like walked away. And I'm just like, who the hell was that? Like, I didn't recognize him or anything, but I was just like, part of it was like you said, like, just not having good matchup experience. And like, yeah, it was tough. So, you definitely don't want to run into those kind of situations. I mean, I'm trying to level up my sim for you. I don't know anybody. Well, no, I think who do we have playing Geef here? Fred. I don't know anybody else.
I love you, Fred, but you're not playing this game. I know it. he would laugh at that. That's our rapport.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that's playing Geef personally, other than I think it was him.
We need Kevin back.
We do need Kevin. Cammy is another character I think is it's not within my training group right now. And I think Moss has a brilliant Cammy based on some of the replays that I've seen. So I gotta get him on speed dial and run some sets with him.
Yeah, I think Jake is also playing Cammy.
Oh, Jamie.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I ran into him in ranked, so I think that would be another good person to hit up for Cammy knowledge.
Yeah. That's kind of like the general vibe I've gotten now that the honeymoon phase of the game is over, where to me it's like I want to start practicing like I practiced Street Fighter 5 again, where it's less so about coming up and innovating with new tech and more about building a Rolodex of people that play the matchups that I need the most help in, because you can define a player by how often they win. And if you do that, you have to take like a statistical side of it, being like, well, there's always bracket luck. There's always the fact that your character has bad matchups and good matchups, and you can run into any of those in a bracket, and that will influence the overall result. And so the idea of pursuing consistency is about understanding the wide matchup spread. And so you may lose to one of your training partners at a local or something, but if you can go further in an out-of-state bracket because you know more matchups than they do, who do you consider the better player? And
that's a tough situation for sure. Like, I think that's something, because I remember you talking about that in terms of like Street Fighter 5 years ago. Was just like, this is very matchup heavy, and that was like your biggest concern. I think when I was talking about like doing like playoff formats for like Rambats or something like that, you were like, well, what if I get matched up first round with like a terrible matchup? And I was like, you know what, I never really thought about that.
I think that is going to be a huge issue for our scene, because historically we've been a very a scene that doesn't really play the matchups so much as we play the players. A lot of us have done that. I agree. I think it is huge to get over that hump for our scene. And so the ways I kind of think about it is like, if you're making reads based off what your opponent is going to do on wake up, on like whether they like to jump in certain situations, you're not really playing the matchup necessarily. To some extent, you are, because certain characters can only do things from certain ranges. But if it's like you're getting beat up and then you get one knockdown and you destroy the other person by guessing right 5 times, do you really know the matchup? And are you going to be able to guess against some random guy at Evo?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because when you're playing that local, right, you're drawing not just off of what's happened in the match, but also like the last time you guys played in that one tournament in a different location, or when you played online because you're training partners together, and this person has a tendency in that first attempt we ran a couple nights ago, you know. And that stuff is all like fair game to like win when the goal is to win the tournament and, you know, and be the best local. It's just, you know, yeah, it's what you're saying. It's like, how often can you roll the dice, right? Or with an informed guess on somebody that you've never played against before out of state.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point that you bring up too, because like, you know, when I played Street Fighter 5, you know, at launch, I was playing sim, and my sim was pretty terrible. Like I was not doing things that normal like sim players were doing, and then kind of Ricardo Akita came out of nowhere, and he was teleporting like a madman. Like I was just like, man, this guy teleports all the time. His Tiger Knee motions all day, and I'm just like, what the hell? And like it was, you know, everybody in the scene had trouble dealing with him, and in some ways, I was just like, well, we just play. I mean, we play the same character, but we don't play them anywhere near the same. Like that, you know, how he chose to play Keep Away was like a whole different thing than what I was doing. So yeah, that's definitely, you know, if you don't have it's one thing to have the characters, but like you said, it's one thing to also like play the matchup and not get used to who you're training with or who you're playing against.
Yeah, and there's another like dimension to this too, right? Because a lot of that matchup based view came from Street Fighter 5 to me, for me, and it's, you know, Street Fighter 5. If there's anything that people say about it is that it lacks player expression. There's only one way to play every character in a lot of times, and you know, a lot of us like dedicated Street Fighter 5 players think that's bullshit. You know, like there's like little nuanced things that they're different, but coming from 5 and going into 6, and I like take JP for example, right? We have like I've played 3 high level JP players, like high level, like high, master and above JP players in our state. All 3 of them play completely different, and so my Rolodex idea of just being like, I just need to learn this matchup and I'll be okay, it doesn't always apply at the same time, because there's so much more depth to a matchup in this game because of that extra player expression that everybody wanted. That I can't necessarily, I can maybe cover JP as a matchup, but I can't necessarily cover all 3 styles of JP, you know, or even modern versus classic. None of us know any modern matchups yet, except besides maybe Ryu or Luke, right? But there's so many new ways to play each of these characters that matchups may actually become less important over time. It's just I don't really know how to adjust besides preparing for a generalized matchup anyway.
I think that's all you can do with the time frame we have for Evo. It's like learn what can Geef do at what range, where does he jump from, and be ready for it. Or you know, we all know we have to hold a certain amount of things once JP knocks you across the screen. And it's like, if you just block and wait and listen for the command grab as best you can. I mean, I listen for it. I still get hit by it sometimes, but
for sure.
But and then you get your opportunity to make a guess and like, am I going to jump? Am I going to drive rush? Whatever. But but there's a certain amount you have to deal with at range.
And even so, as a JP as an example, like Rico will say we get that situation where they knock you full screen and you got to hold that shit for a little bit. Rico will ride that out and continue to zone you until you die. Jon Velociraptor will do a couple zoning tools and then let you walk back into mid range and then hit you with the stick. And then Musa Keita will do a couple. He'll skip the zoning altogether and he'll drive rush at you. He'll go in. So it's like you got to prepare for all 3 of those things. And I'm like, well, the matchup should be that JP goes for Oki here, but that's not always. Or sorry, JP goes for zoning here, which is how I think Rika plays.
Yeah.
But then the next thing I know, I'm sitting there doing nothing, watching Jon swing a stick at me. No pun intended. And then, or I'm eating a drive rush from Musa. So it's, I don't know.
That's funny you bring that up, because that was like the kind of the perfect example I had with JP also. Because like I said earlier, like that's been like my most fulfilling matches lately. And there's another player in Arizona that's playing JP. That was Marco, Rusty Marco.
Yeah.
I ran into them on ranked, and I had a real close set that I lost to them, but it was just like it felt like we were kind of feeling things out, right? And it's just like John said, like at first it was like, okay, he's gonna zone me to a certain point, and then I kind of figured out some stuff, and I was like, okay, now we're kind of in this middle kind of footsies thing. And then I've played, I don't know, 2 or 3 other JPs, and the most recent one, that's the first one I saw drive rush at me. Like I didn't even know what his drive rush looked like, and he's just like casually walking across the screen, like, and I'm like, wait, what is he doing? And he was just coming at me, and I was just like, you're not supposed to do this.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, and I ended up losing, like, you know, the end of the set because of that, like, because it kind of threw me off in the middle and lost me some games.
Have you guys seen those like, they're almost like RC car shoes that make you walk like the speed
yeah.
of that is what JP's drive rush looks like.
It does, yeah. He's like moonwalking forward.
Yeah. It was so alarming to me because, like, you know, I'm used to seeing the green from like DJ and everybody else, and then like I had never seen a drive rush from JP until that moment, and I was just like, yo, this guy's just casually walking with this like cane and stuff, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh man, speaking of DJ too, like that's the other thing where like there's like a Street Fighter 6, like, so whenever a new game comes out, right, there's always like a new topic of the day that dominates the airways for the fighting game community. And when there is no new game out, it's usually, that's when people start talking social stuff, and they start talking about like tournament formats and PC versus PS4 and all that other bullshit, right? But now that the game is out, people are debating balance again. And the latest thing I keep hearing about is DJ's drive rush and how they memed it. They made it look like the Ed and Eddie run where he's like leaning really far back while he's dashing in and shit like that. And, you know, the latest takes that I see on Twitter are like, drive rush should be nerfed, or you know, perfect parry should not scale as much. And then it turned into, well, perfect parry should be scaled more. Perfect parry should be removed from the game. Like everyone is just throwing out their balance ideas and their Twitter clips and their Twitter videos and whatnot. And I think this is the first time I've played a Street Fighter, like a mainline Street Fighter game, where that has actually like played a big role in my experience with the game. Because with 5, it was like, okay, like every now and then I'd see a tweet debating balance, but most of the time it was just people shitting on the game, so there really wasn't much there. But like in 6, it's like, well, those big combos that Mike was talking about earlier, where that person really wants to land it and you just kind of wait for them to break, those are Twitter combos. Those are combos that people picked up from Twitter, and those are combos that people were told to do because an influencer thought it was a popular topic or something, or DJ is the topic of the day, or Jury is the public enemy #1 for after CEO, right? And it's getting to the point now where like I actually think it's going to influence competitive play, where like, you know, after CEO, you know, all of us have Jury on the mind, all of us have Blanca on the mind, and so we're going to naturally lean towards practicing those matchups. And that stuff matters in month 1, where nobody knows what every character can do yet, and you're trying to surprise people. So now we're just trying to knock down a lot of those variables, and we start with the stuff that's popular on Twitter.
Yeah. Month 1 is a weird time.
Hell yeah.
It's just nobody knows what to practice, and to me, like you were saying before, people are arguing about drive rush being too strong, or drive rush, you know, should be nerfed, or you know, it should be buffed, or parry should be nerfed or buffed. To me, that screams balance. If nobody can, like at the end of Street Fighter 5, nobody, whether you played Luke or not, nobody disputed that he was broken or he was the top character. To me, that indicates there is an issue. But if nobody can agree, then it's probably fine. You know, depending on who's arguing what side. If you have Justin Wong and Daigo arguing parry should be nerfed and buffed, chances are it's probably balanced, because two different really strong, really smart players think that it's one way or the other.
Yeah. That's like the old saying where it's like, if you think it's a bad matchup and your opponent thinks it's a bad matchup, it's probably a 5-5.
But a thing that I kind of have universally mainly only heard lower level people talk about and cry about is DI. It's like because DI is a scrub killer. If you're autopiloting, DI blows you up. So naturally, the people who do that aren't going to like it. But I think at a higher level, I think it's a great mechanic. Like it forces me to think about it. Yeah, it slows me down. It doesn't allow me to provide the level of offense that I want, but it also gives me an option to deal with somebody doing that to me.
Yeah. It's a counterbalance to what you mentioned earlier about Street Fighter V, where it was so reaction heavy. Where, well, I guess DI is reaction heavy too, but I guess the big thing is like it's a way to end neutral, and I think that it's a haymaker too, and so you can actually like just beat somebody solely with DI in this game. Versus in 5, you'd actually have to get in the mess and deal with their plus frames, even if they were quote unquote a lesser player and were just autopiloting. You still had to like finesse your way around that to beat it, and that became frustrating if you thought you were the better player. Nowadays, you can just DI it.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up too, because that's been part of my JP experience too. Is like I've noticed. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just the people I was playing, but I noticed like if I anti-aired him, right, a lot of them like upon landing it was DI, and like part of me was wondering like, is this just the JP thing? Because like it happened in like the last 4 matches I played in. Like it happened in the very beginning, right? And then the other part was like I was thinking from what Mike just said in terms of like autopiloting, and it made me question like, am I autopiloting here? Like after I do an anti-air, like typically I'll do like the crouch strong into a fireball or something, and then I noticed I was getting destroyed, and I was just like, okay, that's what's causing that person to do that, is because they know that I'm doing something after I anti-air.
Yep.
And then like again like you said, it's a kind of a scrub killer thing, and it's kind of I'm at the point to where I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm overcoming it against like the lower level players, because it was killing me a lot, or just putting me in bad situations. And now I'm like, okay, now I need to watch out for this, and and now I'm reacting to it, whereas before I wasn't, and I would just like block or I just kind of get out the way. But now I'm reacting to it, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is something that I've like I said, just kind of turned the corner on.
I think the magic around DI is it actually teaches you how to play the game. Where, like you said, what you're doing now is you're slowing down, right? You're anti-airing, but you're not committing to something immediately after the anti-air, and you're watching for what they do, and that translates really easily to, well, I'm watching the space that I'm in range for DI, so I just need to be ready for DI. And you can literally apply that same logic to a low forward and be like, oh, I just need to stand right outside the range for low forward and react to that, and then I can whiff punish it. And it teaches you that shit. Like it's teaching you Street Fighter, even though people are saying that it's not Street Fighter,
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. It's been teaching me that, or it's been teaching me to change up what I'm doing, or do something that's anti-DI, right? So I'll do crouch strong and EX fireball, because the 3 hits is enough to stop them. Like, so I was just like, oh, that works. And I was just like, oh, okay, now this is opening me up to doing, to varying what I do.
Yeah, and there's another lens with, like, from your opponent's standpoint, your opponent might not even know that they're DIing as soon as they get anti-aired. They just know that it works when that happens. They're like, oh, I got air reset. If I see an air reset, I'm going to hit DI, and maybe they'll make a mistake and I'll be able to win off of it. And so they just gradually become conditioned to doing that. And you see that I saw that at diamond level too. It's just people would, in a scramble, they'll do a defensive DI.
Yeah. I had one guy, he did DI like when we were on footsie level and we were just grounded, and then he jumped. I anti-aired, he DI'd. My punish was like one button, and I was just like, oh man, that was shit. And then he jumped again. I anti-aired him, and then he DI'd again. And this time I was just like, I got level 3, you're done.
Yeah. So you adapted. That's the cool thing. And that guy might not have even known that he was doing that. He was just knowing he was mashing the button, right? Because it's also the highest priority button if you mash everything at once, I believe. And it's the same thing as a jump, where a new player is just going to jump over and over and over at you again, and then eventually you have to learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
It kind of, another thing DI does is it's this subtle, as somebody like who tries to help people learn, and so it gives you like a gauge of their mentality overall, because it's a mark of a good player, or at least somebody who's really trying to learn, is if when they get hit by a DI, they're thinking, okay, what did I do to get hit by that? But then if on the other side of the coin is people go, DI's stupid, this is such a dumb mechanic, that tells me, okay, this person has more than just getting better to overcome. They have this terrible mental state that they're in that's probably going to translate to other things too. They're going to instead go, this sequence that this character can do is dumb, or you know, Manon's level 5 command grab is dumb, and instead of going like, okay, what did I do to end up getting hit by that?
We had Show on the show last week, and he mentioned when he was trying to teach people Guilty Gear, he's like, yeah, when I post feedback, you have to feel them out because there's always this obstacle course. He called it an obstacle course of different reasons for why they got hit by something. And you kind of have to navigate your way through that to ultimately point to the things you can control, which is, to put it bluntly, your ego and your ability to cope with an outcome that you're not satisfied with. But the checklist is always you blame the character, you blame your opponent's character, you blame your character, you blame your opponent's play style, you blame the game, and after that you've run out of different things to blame besides yourself.
yeah, you know, I'm not gonna lie, like when I've played, like, you know, it's like my initial reaction is just like, oh, you would, right? It's something like that, and I just be like, oh, that's okay, I got you now, right? And like Mike said, that's exactly my mentality. Is just like, what did I do to get hit there? He did this, and I hit a heavy button. So, you know, don't hit the heavy button. You know, do something different instead.
Yeah.
And you know, so that's a great point, because I know that's something that you wanted to talk about. Too, was also like kind of like my journey up to this point.
Yeah.
And part of that journey, other than me playing Sim, is like I said earlier, like I've been teaching my son how to play. And it was a great point that you brought up about DI, Mike, because like when he was starting, like, you know, we'd play matches against each other and he would just throw it out. And we had this like, and so he was playing Geef at first, but he's been wanting to play DJ. So I showed him some, you know, just real simple B&B combos, right? Like if you get a drive impact, hit him with the elbow, up kicks, and then EX up kicks. And I was like, that's a good punish combo. But you know, so he's been finally getting around to doing that. He's been doing like jabs and then like machine gun upper, that kind of stuff is like that's typically the punish that he goes for. But the thing that I was like most proud of was like this Ken player that he was playing against. And he was at the first he was kind of just casually throwing out DIs like the games before that, right? And I was just like, no, this is, you have to be reactionary, right? Like that's what I'm trying to get into his head right now, is like you're not at the point to where you can just kind of throw this out there in the middle of your game. Like you got to be reactionary. And there was 3 or 4 instances where the other person was just swinging DIs, and then we'd see that slow motion, and like I was getting hyped up because I'd see his DI start up, and I'm like, yes, exactly, that's exactly what you should be doing. And then he started hitting like some of like the B&B combos, and I'm just like, yeah. And then as the game progressed, I started pointing out to him, I was like, look at this guy, like he's not throwing DIs out anymore. You shut that down, right? Or it was like the anti-air game. I was like, if you're gonna play DJ, like you gotta hold down back all the time because your best anti-air is that up kick, right? Like we were messing around. Like I don't know personally like if there's a good normal anti-air, but I was like, your best one is up kicks. So I'm getting that into his mind. And then when I saw him starting anti-airing stuff like against a Cammy, it was the same kind of situation. Like I saw the Cammy player stop jumping, and I was like, look, dude, like you shut that down. He doesn't know what to do now. He doesn't know how to approach. Go walk up, throw. And he walked up and threw him. I was like, see, I told you, he doesn't know what to do anymore. Like we're shutting his options down. He doesn't know what the fuck to do. And that was like a real kind of paramount moment for me, like watching him play. And I'm just like, you know, he's getting stuff, and it was like awesome to see.
Yeah, that's because you have like the bonus multiplier of it being your son. Being like, I taught my boy.
He's making dad proud.
Yeah, seriously.
Like it was awesome. Like and then like today earlier, he was just like he was talking about wanting to play too. He's like, yeah, I was shutting down that Ken yesterday. I want to go play. And I was just like, okay. It's like, you know, he's still sitting at silver. He's got modest goals. He's like, I just want to get a character to gold. So I'm just like, well, at least, you know, you got realistic goals and stuff. So yeah, it was just real awesome just to see that and kind of like see him actually take to that, because it's like, you know, you're teaching somebody and you're seeing like the stuff that you're teaching him, like just basic stuff, like kind of come to fruition, and it's just like now he's like understanding.
Yeah, that's kind of that is one of the and further along, you know, once you get further down that line too, one of the beautiful things about DI in particular is like when two people are really good at reacting to it, you pretty much almost don't use it anymore.
Yep.
And then it becomes this mind game of like, when is the cheekiest time I can throw it out? And then it'll hit you and you're just like, you can't help but be like, because John and I do this to each other all the time when we're playing. We'll just be like, oh man, that DI was ridiculous. All right. like I did, that was the last thing I expected, you know, and but then on the other side, the person who threw it out gets really hype if you did the most random DI and they still react to it. It's like, how are you ready for the DI meaty in the corner on your wake up? Like that was coming in the final round of a 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I had a ranked match. I did exactly that. I didn't DI the whole game, and then the last round, I was just like, okay, this guy's, you know, he's not looking for that at all. And I threw 2 out like back to back, and I'm just like, they both hit it. I'm just like, he had no clue, man. It was like the best feeling.
The Cyberzone tournament that occurred last week, it was me and Tanner, or was it last week or two? It was 2 weeks ago, actually. Wow, time flies. It was last game, last round, time over for the very last round, and I got a life lead because I went for a DI at 3 seconds, I believe, or like 5 seconds on the clock, and that's because it was like we were already like focused solely on making sure we didn't get hit and looking at the time the whole time, and so I'm like, he's not watching for DI, and he blocked it, and he hit the corner because I don't think he even knew he was in the corner, and I was able to like do enough damage before the time over kicked in, and I won the tournament off that. And it's like that where the beauty of it, it's like that reverse bell curve thing where it's jumping really, where like at early Street Fighter, you're like, you tell people don't jump so much, and then at the end, like at high level Street Fighter, like you need to jump more. Or like, don't do wake up DP. It's scrubby and it's stupid at beginner levels, but at high level, that's a godlike wake up DP.
You know? Way to check that guy, right? Put him in check.
Right, exactly. And so
you gotta let him know that that's an option for you in round 1. Like.
Exactly. Yeah. Open round 1 with a jump. Right. DI is the same thing. It's relevant at low levels. You learn to temper it, and then you bust that shit out again at high levels. So it just manages to stay relevant throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah.
And then people will bring up the points of like, it's stupid if you have no bar and you're burnt out. And it's like, yeah, but see, people have this issue sometimes when they think a move is dumb. They're looking specifically at the move when usually the answer is about 2 steps before you got hit with the dumb thing. It's like, okay, why was I in the corner? And why was I burnt out? And why did I have no super meter? Did I just spend a level 3 when it wasn't about to kill? Or, you know, did I throw away, or on the other side, am I doing poorly in neutral, so I have to spend my level 1s to get someone off me if you have a character that doesn't have like a reversal. So you got to look at those more than DI is stupid, because then you just stop learning right there at DI is stupid.
It's like what you said earlier, Benny. It's focus on what you can control. And you can control your meter usage. You can control your decisions that led you up to that point in the first place.
Yeah. Believe me, that's like when I'm playing, like, you know, I don't have a reversal as sim, and pretty much the majority of my meter usage is on EX fireballs, and I'm constantly looking at that meter, depending, you know, regardless of the matchup, right? If I'm playing Honda or Blanca, or Marisa, they're chipping my drive gauge, you know, with every time I block. So then that's something that I'm always looking at, you know, glancing at while I'm playing. I'll look up and like, how much bar do I have? Do I have enough to spend this right now and to allow myself to get in, or do I need to kind of hold back? I mean, you know, granted, that's the benefit of being sim, is like, you know, that's where I want to be. But at the same time, it's like, I'm very cognizant of those kind of situations. And it's just like, okay, now's not a good time to do this. I don't want to burn myself out.
Yeah.
I got a fun little game for you guys. So maybe more so just a question. It's not really a game. I was curious about, are there any characters that are on your radar right now that you're worried about fighting against, just based on your own matchup, or like what are your dark horses right now? Mike, do you want to start?
That's a rough one. I want to say, I would say JP if I didn't have Kimberly. Because when I play Kimberly versus JP, it really feels unfair for the JP player.
Okay.
Honda, I guess, is one for sure because if a Honda can make the reads, it's very difficult to deal with. This is why I really want to play Nico, and as well as Benny. Yeah, like I know you're more focused on Sim right now, but yeah, I'm the Hondas that can exploit what I'm doing and my tendencies are something that I am worried about fighting for sure. I don't know if I'm having trouble because I feel like the two characters I play really complement each other.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when I think about a hard match for Jury, I'm like, oh, that's not so hard for Kimberly, or vice versa. So, but Honda, I honestly I haven't really fought good Sims. Like, I mean, I fought Ricardo, but I think he just wasn't fully ready yet.
Like Sim's gonna need some time in the oven for a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Sim is always going to be an issue but once again, Kimberly, that's another match where it feels unfair.
Yeah, that's been a tough matchup for me, Kimberly. So yeah.
Trying to think of the casts. Camis are weird.
Yeah.
Camis. I have not met a Cami that blocks yet. I don't know. But from Master to Diamond, it doesn't matter. They just jab or DP. And sometimes that's a little weird to deal with because then they are just on you.
Yes.
And aside from Jury, the two other characters I play don't have reversals, so the throw loop gets a little ridiculous. But whoa, what just happened with the audio?
Are you still there?
Yeah. Your audio got really loud for a second. I don't know if Benny heard that.
Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know what that was.
But yeah, I'm trying. DJ, I don't like fighting DJ. There we go. That's the one that I'm worried about. DJs they can be a little bit nuts, and then they hit you like a truck when they do finally hit you. And EX Fireball into Drive Rush is ridiculous.
That's a lot of damage if you get hit.
Yeah. So
I hate it.
DJ is probably, honestly, even more so than like a mind game Honda. DJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, for me personally, like ever since I played your day one Honda, like, I mean, I kind of had feelings about that match already. And it's kind of funny, being a Honda main in the past, like, dealing with that, it kind of makes me laugh because I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, it makes me laugh too, Betty.
But
years of catharsis. Years of catharsis.
I don't know. It's just like that's a matchup I think is really tough, and I think we chatted about this briefly, just in terms of like, it's not so much like just the headbutts. Like, I've had people ask me about that too. Is it just the headbutts? Like, no, it's not just the headbutts. It's the drive meter management, right? It's like I'm worried about meter all the time because my best way to get in is with EX fireballs and teleporting or walking you down to the corner, stuff like that, right? And if my drive meter in particular, I'm not worried about my life meter in most situations. Like, if my drive meter is being depleted, that's eliminating the options that I have. And I don't want to be burned out against Honda either. Like, I've seen those videos by Tanner, and like, I haven't had anybody do that stuff to me yet, but I was like, I'm trying to avoid those situations too, right? Like, I'm not trying to get put into a burnout state and then have to deal with hands and claps in my face the whole time, and I can't do anything about it. So that's probably been my most problematic matchup. I haven't really played many Hondas recently. I had like a modern one, and I watched him because like I was real dedicated to just not losing to that. I was just like, I'm not going to lose to Honda, and I'm not going to lose to modern Honda right now. Like, like I'm finally making waves with my character, and it's not the time right now. But I think I don't know, problematic ones, I'd say Kimberly. Like, I thought I kind of had a little thing developing with her, and then I've played ones that really kind of vary their offense, and that's been a problem. Because the lower level ones, it was like, okay, you're gonna slide, you're gonna jump, or you're gonna do that teleport overhead thing. And once I shut that down, I was just like, okay, you don't know what to do anymore. So it was kind of, I think I kind of had a biased opinion about that just from the lower level players, but the higher level ones, like that's been a problem. Uh, I think DJ is a real big problem for me personally because I don't think I can slide under his fireballs at all from what I was testing. So that becomes a problem. Because typically, like Chun, Ryu, Guile, I can slide under those fireballs. DJ, like it, I guess the hitbox is just low enough that it stops me from doing that.
Yeah, I have a stance with Chun, and I can't duck under his EX fireball. I can duck under every other fireball in the game, every single other one, but not that EX fireball.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think yeah, I would have to agree with Mike in terms even for like playing a different character. I'd say Sim, or I'm sorry, not Sim. I would say DJ for me playing Sim, and then um, I don't know that I think that's the biggest one so far. Um, I haven't played a lot of Luke's, but I feel like that matchup is pretty bad for Honda because his fireball is so fast, and I don't really see like necessarily like a weakness in his game.
Bad for Honda or
Uh,
bad for Sim?
no, bad for Sim.
Got
Like
it.
I can't really talk about matchups for Honda right now. Like yesterday, I played Honda just on a whim, just for the first time in 2 weeks, and I was a Manon player, and they ended up rage quitting on me because I was like anti-airing them because they were just jumping all day, and I'm just like, why is this so easy?
I think I know the Manon you're playing. Or I guess.
Why
Yeah,
is it so easy, Benny?
yeah, they were just trying to jump, and I was like, I know you want to command grab me, but I'm not just gonna let you get in like that. So I was like, I don't know what you're doing.
But you
It's
don't
funny 'cause
care because you're playing Honda.
she has actually really like good options. Like if she could space out that swan kick, there's not much Sim can really do to like punish it like, in a way that isn't worth throwing it out and getting the knockdown and then applying like a drive rush mix up afterwards. Like that the person I played against Akita with was Manon. And shout outs to him for getting me master rank, by the way. I appreciate it. But yeah, like when I played him, I was able to just kind of throw those things out. Another parrying limbs is another good option. She has a lot, and she can do her EX like hit grab through his normals. And the fireball, obviously, but she has a lot of ways of getting in there. So if they're jumping over and over, that's a really bad.
Oh no, that was against Honda. That was the one. That was like the last game I played yesterday. It was like I just switched to Honda, and
Oh,
I was like, I'm gonna play Honda, and then that Mono player ended up just rage quitting on me because they couldn't get in. Well, I was taunting them too. I found out I didn't know it, but like G, my son was sitting next to me, and he's watching me play, and like I was winning pretty handedly in the second round after I had got a perfect the first round, right, and it was like the game 3. So I decided to taunt, and then like I got hit, and then I realized I was like, wait, and we were both like kind of up in arms because we're like, holy shit, that has armor. Like I didn't know his taunt has one
His
hit of
taunt has
armor.
armor?
Yeah, his taunt has one hit of armor. But no, Marissa has one too.
Oh my
We
god! I
looked it
didn't
up.
know
We looked
that.
it up afterwards. But like Honda, like basically like taps his chest, and he says, what did he say? I think he says, "Bring it." And then like he just puts his hands out there, and he has one hit of armor during that whole sequence, but you can't cancel out of it. So I was standing there with his arms out. I get hit, and I see the armor, the armor sound, and I'm like, we were both sitting there, just we're like, what? This has armor, and we ended up like testing it afterwards.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I was like, we were laughing about it because I was like, I had no clue, and I guess there's, yeah, it was making me laugh, and then like, I had hit them with like a level 2. It's like I posted it on my Instagram, like I hit them on a level 2. I could have hit a level 3, but I just had it in my mind, like I'm just gonna hit them at level 2 because they keep jumping. I was like, here, you're gonna eat this charge super. And they had enough life to live, and then I taunted again, and that's when they rage quit on me. So I was like laughing about that, and then that's when we were testing. We went to go like look up the taunt stuff, and I think it was who's that guy that makes videos? JM Crofts, I think is his
Yes.
name. Yeah, he
Yeah.
had a video talking about like the different taunts and like how the ones that affect the game. And I guess like Marisa has one too, where she kind of like says like you can get the first hit, and she like leans in and kind of like puts her face in you, and then has one hit of armor too.
I think Luke's is still the best taunt.
Oh yeah. The fake Hadouken.
Yeah.
Hadouken. Yeah. Yeah, that local Arizona player actually went viral for that one because Flappy, it was in I think closed beta 1. He did a Hadouken fake like to the taunt, and then he did EX uppercut immediately after, and it landed, and he won off it. It was a KO.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I got another question for you guys, another brain teaser here, because the theme of this episode so far seems to be, how are we feeling about the game after month one, after the first major, all that other stuff. And I've seen a lot of, how do I phrase this? There's a lot of people that are climbing the ranked ladders right now. And oftentimes my advice to them is usually to focus on one specific drive mechanic. And so now that you guys are 1 month in, I was curious, like, is there a drive mechanic? Like, what's your favorite drive mechanic that you like using in your matches? Benny, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, so I'll go first. Lately, I've been trying to use reversal more. I'm finding that it's good and it's also bad. I'm finding good uses for it. I had a little talk with Scott the other day because he had to drop some stuff off for me, but he made a good point about it being the counter drive rush. So like if I see the green and I want them off me, like that's a great time to use it. So that's been my focus lately, has been using it during those situations, because as a sim player, I don't want people near me for the most part, unless it's unless I want that to happen, right? So it's like when I see people drive rushing at me, that's the time I'll use it. But then there's a huge negative to it, because if they feel like that's coming, so I can't I can't use that a lot early on. If they feel that it's coming and they block it, it's -8 and they're in my face, and that's then I'm eating big damage. So that's been the main one I've been focusing on. As because I felt like I've gotten super comfortable now in terms of like my offense. So I feel like the next evolution of my offense is converting damage and using like the drive rush combos, like the stuff that I see from like F Champ, and converting like my jabs into like knockdowns and going from there. So I feel like I have like a real good base for my offense now. So the next evolution of that is the drive rush conversions and damage. So now I'm trying to work on like getting people off of me. And so I think drive reversal's probably been the biggest one. I don't know if it's my favorite. I still like drive impact. Like I don't know. I love being able to, like, now that I've turned that corner and I'm reacting to it a lot more. It's a lot more satisfying to hit somebody with that, or like Mike said, like do it at the end of a round and wall splat them or get a stun, right? Like, oh, you're burned out. Here, let me do this block string that I did like 20 times in this match, except this time instead of the fireball coming out, here's the DI and I get a free combo.
That's awesome. So you've gone from, like, because I remember DI being like your bane for a little bit. So it's gone from being your bane to you being your favorite. That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, I think, well, again, I think it's part of like not just my growth as a player, because like, I mean, you played me a lot in Street Fighter 5 when I played, and like, man, I throw heavy buttons out like nothing when I was playing sim, right? It was fierces and roundhouses all day, and I was like, I was getting blown up, and I'm just like, man, I gotta really stop doing this. But like through Street Fighter 5's life, I really never stopped. But in this game, I kind of had to, because it was like I was getting impacted all the time because I was throwing roundhouses out, and I'm just like, no, I can't be doing this anymore.
It's funny you attribute like hitting heavies over and over again to Street Fighter 5. I get it because it's the crush counter system and whatnot, but like I always associate hitting heavy buttons over and over with, I call it boomer neutral. It's what ST and CVS2 players do, is they just hit heavy punch like 5 times in a row. Because in ST you can win off of that, and in CVS2 those buttons are absolutely busted and you have to hit those buttons. Anyway, Mike, how about you? Favorite drive mechanic?
Probably the parry.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think it's probably the most underexplored and probably has the most potential for changing the game. And as you guys have talked about in previous episodes, Tanner shows that really well.
Yes.
But just like it's really, if you have to use it for one. You can get away without ever using DI offensively, or certainly you don't want to DI defensively. That's probably the worst way to use it, which can also be the most unpredictable way, which would make it good. So I don't know, but usually people have structured their offense to deal with DI a little bit.
Right.
But getting parry and back thrown is still, to me, the scariest thing that can happen to you in this game. So that is kind of why I like it, because if you're getting overwhelmed, and a lot of people love to just do jabs because they know that their other buttons are negative.
Yep.
And if you parry a jab and throw them in the corner, and I know you're thinking I'm talking about you, John. I'm not.
Okay, 'cause I've been parried out of my jab before. It sucks.
yeah. But I don't think you're doing it because you're like afraid of the other stuff. I think your character's jab is just ridiculously good, so you're using it.
Yeah, that's true.
But like I've seen other people who just jab to kind of like not have to deal with being thrown or somebody reversaling a button, and then parry blows that up, and now they're in the corner. So I think it's important to at least use it for that.
I remember like the first time I got perfect parried on a meaty, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't meaty for free anymore." In 5, your risk reward was like, okay, if I eat an uppercut, at least I burned his meter, right? And so meaty was arguably the safest option to go for in 5, but in 6, it's like, no, I could die off this.
Yeah.
Do you think that do you think they should touch the scaling on perfect parry at all?
No, I think it's perfect the way it is. It forces you to be aware, because if you're at full life and somebody perfect parries you, worst thing that can happen to you is being thrown in the corner. If you're at like 30% life and they have level 3,
you're dead. You
can die off of it. So you have to be much more, conservative with your offense. So to me, that's great. Anything that slows the game down, or at least if you're gonna play fast, makes you have something to think about.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing.
I completely didn't even think about parry. That's just how much that's something that I've noticed too when I've been playing too. Is like as I tried to learn about one thing, I lose focus on other things, right? So I was just like, okay, now I got to do drive rush combos, and then I completely forget about drive reversal. Like I had to look up the command because I didn't even know what it was, and I was like, how do I get people off of me? And I was like, oh wait, I got this, right? And then like you mentioned parry, I completely forgot about parry unless I play like Honda or Blanca. And actually, man, I felt so good when I success or perfect parried a butt slam. And then I was like, I actually did a combo, and I was just like, oh man, this feels so good. I was just like, but then I start playing other matchups, and I completely forget that that's an option. And you mentioning about doing it for jabs is like, I play Ken players all the time that are just sitting there and jabbing me, and I'm just like, I can't do anything against this. And now you're opening my eyes. It's like, oh wait, I should just jab. I should just perfect parry one of these or try to, and throw them in the corner instead of me being there.
Yep.
And you remember, you can also drive reversal out of the parry, which is really good against Marisa's
bullshit.
Her
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
Where she puts all of her ass into that one punch. Whatever that called.
Gladius.
Yeah. So you parry, and it gives you a chunk of bar to then spend to drive reversal her away from.
Oh, okay. That's something I have to look into. Nice.
It's something I've done a couple times. It's kind of weird finger dexterity to do it. if you're so for those, it might be easier to do the parry the old-fashioned way, and then use your pinky to drive reversal.
Okay.
That's kind of the best way I've found to do it.
Huh.
But yeah, good luck trying to have the pinky dexterity to swap between those two quick enough.
Yeah.
I think parry has the potential to I agree in that it's probably the most underexplored mechanic, and it also has the potential for being the most meta defining of all the drive mechanics. I think that there's a very large possibility that fireballs are useless in this game at the end of its life, or once we figured out parry, because when I play against somebody that parries every goddamn fireball that I throw, I'm like, what do I do now? And I just stop throwing fireballs. And then suddenly, if you do that to a Guile, what are they gonna do?
Yeah,
they're just not. They're I there are times with Chun where I will stance and then I will just duck under the fireballs. And the amount of Guiles that I've seen lose their shit over that because they can't do the thing that they signed up for.
The thing you enlisted for.
Yeah. This is on the tin. I played this character to throw a sonic boom, and now that doesn't mean anything. Parry has the potential to really, really shake that game up, and we just are not there yet.
Does that even go under his whatever the
blade?
Sonic, the Sonic scythe into the
It does.
Good lord.
What?
they literally don't know what to do, but so then they start attacking me, and I'm like, oh, Guile doesn't know how to attack me.
That's funny you mentioned that because like when people start pairing my fireballs, I'm just like, oh, that's my time to go teleport and throw you.
There you go. It forces you to go in, right? And some
Yeah,
people
yep.
don't want to play like that.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy. I was like, oh, okay, you just want to dictate it a little bit, but all right, I'll go in and then I'll throw you. And then speaking of throws, I completely forgot that Sim had that throw where he like does a flip and he grabs your legs and he throws you across the screen. Like I completely
Ah,
forgot that was a thing because there's the forward back throw. Then I was like, I was watching a video or something and I was just like, what throw animation is that? And he has a down throw and like yeah, he
Ah,
literally grabs your feet and he does a flip and then he just like throws you across the screen.
I didn't even know he had that until literally just
Yeah,
now. What the hell?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I was just like, I should be using that one. I mean, the little bitch slap one that he does is great, especially on punish counter because like he's holding there and he like punches you twice and then he slaps you.
yeah,
But like, yeah, the throw one's great because I was just like, man, this throws him full square across the screen.
you just like unlocked this is either something I seen once and I was blown away that it was a thing. I didn't know it was there, even though I play the character, or it's a fever dream. But I think Jury has an air throw that no one uses.
He does.
Oh, she
Okay,
does.
so it is a thing. Yeah, I remember.
No one
I feel like I
uses it.
saw that in a video once, and I was just, wait a minute. And then I completely forgot until you said something about a hidden throw. It like jogged that memory for me.
I didn't even know JP had an air throw. I've never seen anybody do that. And then like I teleported in the air and like he threw me the other way, and I was just like, what?
Yeah,
So
his
yeah,
gives him exactly what he wants to. All of his throws just like, all right, I'm gonna put you all the way across the screen.
yeah.
Oh, that's speaking of throws. What's your guys' opinion on throw loops? Do those matter? Are they important? Are they good for the game? Or are they bad for the game?
I think they're the greatest thing ever. I think that is the
Motherfucker.
best. That is the best thing you could have. And if you're real lucky, you have a safe jump and a throw.
He says this because he knows I don't have a throw. I'm one of two characters that have a throw loop, and both his characters have a fucking throw loop.
No, I think it's obviously good to have.
Yeah.
I don't think just Chun as an example. She may not have a throw loop, but she has ways of blowing you up for trying to pretend like she doesn't. Like
Yeah.
she can really hurt you for trying to press buttons to check her throw. So she kind of gets to walk up, but no, it is not a real throw loop, but it's a pseudo throw loop that hurts when you guess wrong.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
but I think it definitely helps deal with people who parry a lot.
Yeah. I think it's there to offset parry more than anything else.
Oh,
go ahead.
The real screwed up thing is Jury has that OS, so she can jump back strong into the EX into level 3, so you could lose half your life for trying to jump over her throw.
That's another side of it where I feel like because throw loops are more common, like people are waking up and doing crazy shit on wake up to punish those throw loops. Like I do wake up air legs, and then I get a full grounded combo off it on punish counter because they whiffed a throw. I've seen like in 5, like Dalsums would do wake up Gale, which looks scrubby as shit, but then you're like, oh wait, that's plus.
With Kimberly, I do wake up TK Tatsu.
Yeah.
And it side switches punish counters and gets a full combo into a safe jump.
Yep.
So,
and in any other game, we'd be like, there's no way we're going to do this. This is ridiculously stupid to go for. But it's like, no, throw loops, man. This is how you beat the throw loop.
Yeah, I was doing the I think I mentioned it like in a tweet that you said about that. Like I was doing like the jump and then the roundhouse drill because it's right there in the front, and I was just like I was doing that because I was like, there's nothing else for me to do. So yeah, like you said, it makes people do kind of crazy things that you wouldn't expect. And yeah, I mean, you opened my eyes up to it when we were having like a discussion about that too, in terms of it being there because of parry, because parry negates everything else, right? Like, like I was playing a Mono player, right? And like I threw EX Fireball, and then I charged up my level 2 super, so I was just like, well, they're not going to be able to go anywhere. and then I was thinking like a chip out situation, and then I just see them hold parry, and I just see I see them parry the whole thing, and I'm just like, oh, that doesn't work.
Yeah, and you're like, well, shoot, I have no option now because this thing beats everything. It beats high low, it beats left right.
Yeah.
It's a button that you hold, and so it's got to have a weakness.
Yeah.
And throws does seem like a pretty organic weakness to it. So throws have to be rewarding enough, because even after you get the throw on the parry, like, imagine if that returned you to neutral. That wouldn't disincentivize somebody for not using parry, right?
Yeah.
Even if I got punish countered, if I got out still, I'd be like, yeah, I took the throw. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't get out. I get throw looped to death all the time. I don't.
Yeah, I do
out
too.
at all.
Like I didn't. I'll be honest. Like I didn't completely understand like the thing about the throw loops too, about them being meaty, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I was just like eating them just to eat them, or I was just trying to do stuff, because I was talking to Maynard about that, and I was like, yeah, I was trying to jab people out of this. He's like, you can't jab that, it's meaty, and I'm like, oh wait, like maybe I'm thinking of something else, but that's what made me like kind of reconsider everything too, because like initially, like I said, I was doing that jump drill, and then it's kind of been out of my mind for a while. I've been doing learning all these other things, and it's kind of been pushed back, and now it's like now I'm thinking about it again.
Yeah.
The throw loop is like the crouch tech in 4. It did the same thing in 6 that did in 5, because in 5 nobody had a throw loop anymore. So you got to used to, if you think they're going for a throw, you mash buttons. Now we're back to dealing with a throw loop, and you think you can hit a button, but you can't.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point that you bring up too, and also like you said about the parry, the perfect parry punish damage and stuff like that, because that seems to be on the mind of a lot of people on social media in terms of like patching or removing stuff. And I'm like, we're in month 1. Like, I'm older than you guys. I remember not getting new versions of games for like a year, 2 years, if that, maybe 3 years. And I'm just like, we just had to let shit rock, and like you had to figure stuff out. And like, if you didn't, either you were playing a crappy matchup, or you had another character to deal with that matchup because it was so bad for a certain reason. And like Mike said, like in terms of accountability, right? Like I've always just tried to be like, how do I deal with this? And not so much that, yeah, this is dumb, right? Like I don't want to get into that mentality where just like, I just feel this is stupid and this game is dumb or whatever, and they should take this out, right? It was almost like I remember I was comparing Drive Impact to the what do they call it in Tekken? Is it Power Crush or whatever
Power
it's called?
Crush,
Yeah, that move, because like I was getting away with that, against low level players all the time. I'll do the Power Crush, and they're like pressing buttons, and I was like, oh, I got a free hit, right? And it was the same thing with DI initially, and I was like, this is what it reminds me of. But then like you play, as you play more advanced players that know how to deal with that, in Tekken it was sidestepping, and it's just like, yeah, you're not gonna get away with that scrubby shit against me. And here it's like, you learn, the jabs or canceling the supers and stuff like that. You play against people like that, and all of a sudden, like it's negated in a way. So it's just like, yeah, like I said, like I've always just been real kind of hesitant to just be like, yeah, let's patch this out, instead of, I want to try to figure out ways around it. And that's, like I said, that's been opening up my game in terms of like being varied with like the things that I do in certain situations.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to use this time to promote like a idea that I've been pushing on a couple different people. In Street Fighter 6, you can pull up your battle profile, and if you scroll through the options, there's actually a list of how many, like in the last 100 matches, how many times did you use X drive mechanic?
Yeah.
And like, I would love to see and compare with you guys, like what mechanics you guys lean on the most, because we could talk about it here and be like, oh, this is my favorite mechanic, but I use drive reversal, I think on average. Like I use half of a drive reversal on average in the past 100 matches.
I'll pull it up right now.
That works.
I'll pull it up right now on the website. Hold on, because I remember you posting about that. Hold on. You said the drive rush stuff, right? Oh,
Yeah.
battle style. That's what it is.
I think for me, drive rush is going to be the biggest one, because Jury just thrives on drive rush. So DJ players, Jury players, probably even Chun too. Drive rush is huge. But
well, so for me, like my drive rush usage is like triple every other mechanic. Like I have mine pulled up right now. Like I have like my drive my parries, for example, like I used them 12 times in the past 100 matchups. Sorry, on average over the last. So I would use it 12 times in a match, but on Drive Rush, apparently I use it 30 times. That's not right. I don't know. Either way, it's like by a factor of 3. Like I use Drive Rush 3 times the amount of times that I use the other mechanics. And I think it's because at the end of the match, I always do a burnout loop, which is a whole other can of worms. You basically like your drive bar is gonna come back next round, so spend it all before you spend any super meter.
Yeah,
spend it all.
I'll send it to you.
Get your money's worth.
I don't know if you just want to post it. I'll send it to you so you can see it.
Yeah, I can put it on the stream chat too, or the stream as well. That'd be kind of fun. Let's see here.
So yeah, I just sent it to you now.
One thing I wanted to say about the drive parry, because people are complaining about it being not strong enough, right?
Yeah.
I think those are people who are looking at it only in terms of damage.
Yeah.
They're not looking at, because I watch plenty of people get a perfect parry in the corner and not back throw people. Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for that, but there's, in my opinion, there's 2 reasons. Obviously, you're doing the parry for whatever reason, to deal with a move, but it's either meter gain, drive recovery, or positioning, or both. If you're Chun and you can just do that. Yeah. But yeah, like so that's kind of, if you're low on drive bar, you got 1 bar left or 2 bars left, do the longest non-OD combo you can do and gain back that drive bar. If you're at full bar, throw them in the corner.
Yep.
You know, like if you're, one thing I pretty much tell people to never do, and I think anyone who's played the game seriously for the time that it's been out already sees this, but I'll say it anyway. Don't be spending supers or OD moves in a perfect parry combo unless you're going to kill. It's a complete waste of resources.
Yeah, I learned that sumo smash, or the butt slam that I perfect parried. That's exactly what I did, and I was like, man, this didn't do any damage.
yeah, but that was probably the last time you spent resources on a perfect parry, you know.
In keeping with the theme of this game, though, there is a situation where that does matter, where if your opponent is about to burn out and you perfect parry them, then hell yeah, hit them with the super, right? Because then you're gonna burn them out instead, and it's like, oh yeah, there's an answer for everything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
On the stream here, I have Benny's chart pulled up here, and some notable statistics are that he uses overdrive arts, so OD moves, EX moves, 100 times more often than he uses parry. He has used parry drive rush exactly 0 times in the last 100 matches, and drive reversal is a whopping 8 out of 100. I don't actually know how that. 8% of the time you use drive rush with your meter as well. And for me, or for drive reversal rather, and for me, like I think my drive reversal is 0.25. So we're just wildly different in play style, and obviously it depends on your character and stuff too, but it's almost like comparing horoscopes.
Well, like I said, like, I mean, that EX fireball is my ticket to get in, especially like the arching one. A lot of people, you know, I'm not expecting to catch people with it, but like it bounces back. So like you have the light and medium one, so that one goes kind of like 3/4 screen, and then it kind of comes back. So if they DI me, that's coming back to hit you, and like I can see like there's combo video potential for that, because like it's gonna reset you if it happens at the right time. Like I could probably get like double fierce or something like that, right?
Sure.
And then same the other one, the medium heavy one, it goes full screen, and then it'll kind of come back about 3/4. So it's something to be aware of. If you see that drive meter get spent, then yeah, I mean, I've got a couple clips that I posted where people were dying because that was still on the screen. Like there's one on Twitter right now with like Cammy.
Yeah.
Like she did a super and then she drive rushed, and then like the fireball came down on her head and she died. So it's just like, you know, that's my ticket to get in. Like, that's pretty much like how I describe, or at least my play style with Sim is like, I'm going to keep you out until I'm ready to go in, and then I'm going in, like,
sure.
And at that point, like, if you can deal with what I'm doing, then, we're going to reset the situation, or I'm going to be on defense. Otherwise, I'm still going to keep coming in. So
I guess my main point is for anybody who's out there who is like, I've plateaued, I don't know where to start on improving, and I can't find a coach, or I don't have anybody that'll look at my matches or anything. You can look at the data and you can be like, well, for example, with Benny's chart here, it's like, well, maybe I could use parry rush more. Parry drive rush. Like if you also have a 0 on that, maybe that's where you start next in trying to incorporate something new to your game to kind of mix it up a little bit and knock yourself out of that plateau. Or alternatively, like for example, I have drive impact. I use it 6% of the time. And I think I saw Scott's Saber's statistics, and he uses it 1% of the time. So maybe I'm overusing it and putting myself at risk too much. And obviously my drive cancels are 30% of the time. And I think I overuse that too much. So it's like stuff like that where I can look at it and be like, oh, I can, if I interpret this data a specific way, it might actually open up new doors for what to practice next, or how to knock myself out of that plateau.
That's a good point. I honestly wasn't even thinking of it that in that sense. It was more just like kind of assessing like how I've been playing. But I think I mentioned it probably a couple weeks ago. Was just when it's come to playing this game, like I've had a hard time getting comfortable, right? So instead of overwhelming myself with stuff, I've just tried to build on things little by little. So that's why, like I said earlier, like I was just trying to develop a good feel for my offense. Now that I have that, now I'm like, okay, now I can worry about defense, drive reversals. Now I can worry about offensive conversions and stuff like that. So maybe the next 100 matches, you'll see my drive rush meter, or my drive rush cancels, go up as I'm incorporating that into my game. So that's
or parry. Parry could be.
Yeah, parries too. Yeah.
I have this like theory where like when you climb the ladders, like I think you can, and this might be coming from a privileged perspective, but like I feel like you can climb through platinum if you understand how drive impact works, and I feel like you can climb through diamond if you understand how drive rush works, and you can get through master really easily if you know how parry works. And because at each of those levels, there's a lot of people at those levels that don't know how to deal with those respective mechanics. And it's obviously it's a little reductive, and there's more nuance to climbing that ranks than that. But I would start there. I noticed that a lot of people in platinum like are still using DIs and still relying on DIs for their damage. Including relying on counter DI. I've seen a lot of people that like once you don't give them the DI, they don't know what to do, because that's how they got to that point, was punishing. It's like that guy that only watches for anti-airs, and you're like, well, I'm dashing in on you, right? And then for diamond, it's like if you can cash out with big ass damage and kill them in 3 guesses, then it doesn't matter how good they are. It doesn't matter how crazy they are, because you just kill them. And then master, it's like, hey, they've perfected their offense with all these drive rush things, make them burn meter, so that way they get on and parry all that shit, so that way you get a drive lead on them and you kill them for that instead.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of people who don't know how to use drive mechanics in master.
Agree.
Like I was surprised completely with just how it's not the level of play I thought I would be seeing. You look at master like, oh, this is the promised land. Like I finally get good matches, and then nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there are some for sure. Like there are good players in master, obviously, but there are also, some scrub diamonds hidden in the rough there. Like
that scrub diamonds in the rough.
There are. I've seen some Twitter topics of the day talking about whether or not the ranked grind is even worth it anymore, because there's no higher ranks. Like, is it, in your opinion, Mike, is it too easy to get to master?
I actually do think so. I think at least initially, when everybody's figuring out the game, and the fact that you can't like go backwards is a little bit weird. I think it's cool or whatever, like that you got there and you stay there, but at the same time, I've seen plenty of people with like less than the required amount still in master ranks,
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of diminishes it a little bit. I think in a game where the online is so good, the rank should mean more than it does right now.
Wait, so you don't lose the master title if you go below 25,000 points?
Nope.
No.
Oh, really?
I don't know why.
They demote the hell out of you, and like, yeah, because I was like, I had somebody in platinum, I put him back in gold, and I was like, yeah, you're back in gold now, so you get to keep that even if I end up at 18,000 points.
Welcome to the. It's like Celestial and Guilty Gear. Once you're in there, you're in that promised land, and I hate it there.
Yeah, at least like make it where you, let's say if you have, but I guess that kind of defeats the whole thing. Like you're not going to go below if you have. I was going to say if you have a higher than 50% win rate, then you don't get demoted. But chances are you're not getting there without at least a little bit higher than that anyway. Maybe it should be even higher than 50%. I don't know, but
I'm wondering if part of their reasoning for that is to kind of keep people kind of in that player pool, right? Like if you're able to attain that status, they want you to like be there and not killing the people at the lower levels. Now it's time. Like you said, the promised land, right? Like you get there and it's just like now you get to play against the people that are at this level. Whether or not the majority of those people are good, like you guys said. I mean, that's a different thing entirely. But maybe they did that just to kind of keep those people from just sitting around at the lower or beating up on the lower rank people.
Yeah, I feel like I saw a distribution graph recently, and it's like the amount of master rank players, it's like less than 10% of the entire game population. And so it's like I personally feel like the honeymoon phase is over. Like half the fun of ranked is climbing the ladder and knowing that there's another step above all that. And now that now my only incentive is to watch the number go up, and there's no extra prestige around it because like there's so many master players now. And it's like, from our perspective, right? From our perspective, the skill-based matchmaking is just going to continually match us up with master players, and so we get a warped view of the game. But I think the vast majority of the players in this game get that fun ladder climb experience and that feeling of improvement. I don't get that anymore because there's no bigger title, and the color of the title doesn't change, and I don't get Grandmaster or anything. They're gonna fix that. Like I was gonna say
Street Fighter 5 there was what, Grandmaster, and then like Warlord was the top one. Is that what it was?
Yeah, well, it started with just Master, and same as launch here, and then they added Grandmaster, Ultimate Grandmaster, and Warlord over the years. Over the years specifically, like they had like it took a little while before they did that. And then like if you look at the in-game UI, there's like you can filter your rank by phase. So I think they're actually going to reset the rank at some point.
So they'll definitely do that. Like I can definitely understand what you mean, like in terms of like I guess plateauing or not seeing like the rewards of like continuing to play ranked. Like I'm in a different boat because like my placement matches were shit. I was playing like shit. I ended up at silver with Sim, and I was just like, all right, well, time to climb. So to be at where am I at, platinum 4 now? Like it like I definitely see improvement in my game, and then it is nice to see that title change and that level up. But like if you get to that master part, and then there's nothing beyond that, I can definitely see like, okay, yeah, now it's just a number.
Yeah, and like Mike, you've got a different way of tackling it where you're like, well, I hit master with the character I was playing. Now I'm going to go to the other 15 characters that I play and get them to the rest.
Yeah, but I think that is kind of biting me because when I have played ranked with the master, Manon is my master ranked character, oddly enough, the character I don't really touch anymore. It's like I don't really get high level or high point value like master players. Because I pretty much hit master with her, played a few matches, and so I'm over the 25,000, but I think I'm at 26. And then now all of the top players, the people who I really want to play, are in like the 30s and 40s. Or like, I think, what's his name? That Noah the Prodigy guy's at like 100,000 now or something.
Holy
like that.
Shit! Yeah, he's got so many points.
Him and Mr. Crimson, the Dawson player.
Yeah,
I saw the screenshot. Like they both eclipsed 100,000.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm not seeing people of that high point value. So I don't know if that they're, even though you're master rank, you still get matched near your point value. But I'm fighting people below 30 almost every time.
Yep.
Well,
but to be fair, I haven't played a ton of ranked at master. So It could
Okay, I
just
got
be there's more people at the 25,000 area than there are above that. So
Yeah, because I know Saber talked about playing against Noah. So I mean, if he's playing, I mean, I'm not sure about the character, but if he played his master rank character, then I'm assuming it's the one that's at 100,000. So
yeah,
I think the possibility is there. Maybe there's like filtering or something in there, so you don't get them that often. I don't know.
I think
that could be.
you have like two dimensions to it, right? You have skill based, but you also have region based because of netcode concerns. Like if I get matched up with somebody in New York, the connection is not guaranteed to be good, and I might go to Twitter and be like, "Look how bad the netcode is." So they want to make sure that you're in a contained area, and so we just frequently get West Coast people. I think in 5 I got like Louisiana a couple times and Texas, so it's not completely. I'm sure the matchmaking algorithm is similar for 6, and I'm sure I'm getting people. Like I think I get people from Utah. I think I get people from Texas as well. Mexico, a lot of Mexico.
Yeah, I've been seeing. Well, I see the Mexican flag a lot.
That's true. Yeah, they could be in the U.S. as well and just repping. Yeah. Cool. Well, looking at the time here, I think we are winding down on our discussion. There's still plenty more to talk about. I bet we could go for another hour if we really wanted to. But we'll save that for another day. Thrasher, do you have any shout outs on the way out here?
Yeah, I mean, same people as always. Shout outs to the AZ scene, the people I train with, John, Mocha, John, Guerrero, Rudy and Carlos, my sons, my children, my guys that I play with all the time. Shout outs to Chris Powell for liking the game and joining us in the current fighting game. I'm excited. It's fun having him around again.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout outs to all of those guys and anyone I missed.
Agree. We're
and
seeing
you
so many
guys
people.
For having this, for keeping something for us to talk about and something for me to listen to at work. I appreciate it.
That's awesome, man.
Cheers. Well, I don't have the script pulled up, so I'm going to do it from memory. You can find us on twitch.tv/Spiral Series, youtube.com/Spiral Series, and on Spotify if you search for Absolute Guard. Thanks everybody for watching. Damn it, I almost made it. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good night. Blah, blah, blah. See you later.
Later, guys.